It was late at night, and two siblings were caught up in a video game. Eventually, the sister tells her brother it's time to sleep, but the little boy is frozen with fear. He's convinced a terrifying monster is hiding right inside his room. To calm him down, the sister goes in and searches every single corner. "See," she says, "I've checked everywhere. There is no monster in here." But just as she says that, the bedroom door slams shut all by itself. Standing outside, the boy hears the blood-curdling sounds of a beast. Suddenly, a monster bursts through the door and starts chasing him. But then, the camera pulls back. It turns out, it was just a movie playing in a theater. Among the audience are Marshall and his friend. His friend is so shaken by the movie that he can't take it anymore. He gets up and bolts out of the theater. Marshall follows him out to the lobby, where the friend is breathing so heavily he has to use his inhaler. Marshall looks at him and asks, "Why are you so scared?" He reminds him that Halloween is next Sunday. If he's this terrified now, how is he ever going to enjoy the holiday? The two boys head over to an antique shop to meet a girl they know. She's a bit of a prankster and tries to jump scare them while wearing a werewolf costume. After they hang out for a bit, she heads home. Marshall, still trying to help his friend find some backbone, tells him he has to face his fears. He dares him to do the one thing no kid in the neighborhood wants to do: go ring Mr. Kaboot's doorbell. Everyone thinks Kaboot is a cold-blooded killer. The friend gathers every ounce of courage he has and reaches for the bell, but suddenly, Kaboot appears right behind him. Terrified, the boy screams and runs back to Marshall, and they both scramble home. That night, Marshall's mom has her boyfriend over for dinner. Marshall isn't happy about it at all. He's so upset by this new man in their lives that he gets angry and walks out right in the middle of the meal. Later, his mom comes to his room to talk. She gently tells him, "I want to move on with my life," and then she leaves him to his thoughts. Just then, Marshall's walkie-talkie crackles to life. It's his friend, sounding incredibly nervous. "Look out your window!" he whispers. Their houses are close, and when Marshall looks toward Kaboot's place, he sees two men struggling to carry a massive box inside. The friend is panicking, convinced there's a dead body in that box. Marshall thinks for a second and tries to be the voice of reason. "It could just be a statue," he says, though he knows Kaboot is always acting strange. The next day, the boys meet up with a classmate and tell her everything. She's an aspiring reporter and complains that nothing interesting ever happens in their town, until now. The three of them head to the local museum for a school field trip. While they're walking through the exhibits, they see something strange, a mummy lying in a coffin. But the classmate notices something even weirder. The coffin right next to it is completely empty. The teacher explains that there were actually two mummies who were in love in ancient times. Their families couldn't keep them apart, so they were buried together to be together forever. But just yesterday, one of them was stolen. Immediately, Marshall's mind goes back to the night before. He suggests that maybe Kaboot stole the mummy. The classmate gets very serious. She asks, "How big was that box? How many people did it take to move it?" Based on Marshall's answers, she's convinced the mummy is in that basement. They come up with a plan and sneak into Kaboot's basement that night after he leaves. Marshall's friend is trembling, staying close to a lamp for comfort. He spots a large box covered with a sheet and slowly pulls it back. He gasps, "It's the coffin!" He sees a beautiful locket around the mummy's neck and reaches in for a closer look, but the mummy suddenly tips over and falls right on top of him. He screams and runs to find Marshall. Meanwhile, the light from the lamp hits the locket and, unbelievably, the mummy begins to move. It's coming to life. When the kids run back into the room, the coffin is empty. They think the friend is just seeing things, but then the mummy steps out right in front of them. They dash upstairs in a panic, with the mummy following close behind. But instead of attacking them, the mummy does something unexpected. It simply picks up the flashlight the friend dropped and hands it back to him. The classmate realizes then that the mummy isn't a monster at all. He's actually quite gentle. Just then, they hear Kaboot's car pulling up. They scramble out of the house, taking the mummy with them. When Kaboot gets to the basement and sees the empty coffin, he's deeply disturbed. Outside, the kids decide the safest place to hide a living mummy is Marshall's house. Once they get him settled, Marshall tries to figure out what a mummy eats. He offers him pizza and hot sauce. The mummy is confused at first, but once he tastes the hot sauce, he absolutely loves it. It reminds Marshall of an old friend named Harold who couldn't get enough of spicy food, so he decides to name the mummy Harold. The next morning, Marshall's mom heads to work. Marshall tells Harold to stay hidden inside while he goes to school. But Harold wanders outside and sees a bus driving by with a picture of an Egyptian princess on the side. Thinking it's his lost love, Harold reaches out for the image, but his bandages get snagged on the bus. He ends up being dragged down the street. When the kids get home and find Harold gone, they start a frantic search. Eventually, Harold finds his way to the museum, drawn by the princess's picture. The kids track him down and secretly sneak him out. They realize they can't keep him at the house anymore, so they take him to the girl at the antique shop. She takes a photo of his locket and tells them, "There's writing on this. Let me translate it." Meanwhile, Kaboot is in trouble. He meets with the woman who helped him steal the mummy, but he has to admit the mummy is missing. She's furious. "I need the money soon," she warns him, telling him to get lost. Back at the shop, the owner has the translation. She tells the kids that the locket brings the mummy to life under the moonlight. But there's a catch. Harold has to return to his coffin within 3 days, or he will turn to dust. He's already been alive for 2 days. They have only 1 day left. They rush back to Kaboot's basement, but the coffin is gone. Kaboot moved it. While searching the floor, Kaboot finds the friend's inhaler with his name on it. Now he knows exactly who took his prize. As the kids try to figure out their next move, Kaboot and his gang corner them. Marshall tries to be brave, and when Kaboot starts questioning them, Marshall says, "The mummy is right behind you." Kaboot turns around, and there stands Harold. The mummy tosses Kaboot's men aside like rag dolls, giving the kids a chance to escape. They run into a friend of Marshall's mom who reveals the coffin has been taken to an ice cream factory. They try to find the antique shop owner for help, but she's at a local festival. They head there, but Kaboot and his men catch up and block their way. In the chaos, one of the men snatches the locket from Harold's neck. Deprived of its magic, Harold immediately collapses back into a lifeless corpse. Kaboot grabs the mummy and drives off. The kids follow them to the factory, where Kaboot is already showing the mummy to a buyer. The deal is made, and money changes hands. But the kids aren't giving up. Marshall knows Harold has to get into that coffin or he's gone forever. Harold is terrified of the coffin, but Marshall looks him in the eye and convinces him he has to do it. As Harold moves toward the coffin, Marshall is caught by the guards. Marshall's friend swings on a rope, heroically grabbing the locket back. He throws it to Marshall, who tosses it to Harold. The moment the locket touches Harold's neck, he roars back to life. He tears through Kaboot's gang, throwing them across the factory floor. They tie up the bad guys and race Harold back to the museum. There, the miracle happens. Harold's true love comes back to life too. The two ancient souls share a beautiful, tender embrace. Finally at peace, they both lie down in their coffins to sleep for eternity. The next day, the news is buzzing. The missing mummy returned on its own and tucked itself back into its coffin. Kaboot and his gang are all behind bars. Back at home, things are changing too. Marshall finally gives his mother's boyfriend a chance and realizes he's actually a good man who truly cares about his mom. They decide to move forward as a happy family, and everyone finally finds the peace they were looking for.